Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. All of India is celebrating today. It's our 79th Independence Day. Normally, this day is about symbolism and pride, but today was a lot more. It was about gratitude and forward thinking. Gratitude for the soldiers who kept us safe against Pakistan, who avenged the victims of Pahalgam, and forward thinking to navigate this challenging world of wars and tariffs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed both. He delivered the longest Red Fort speech yet. We'll bring you the top 7 highlights. Also on the show, we're just hours away from the crucial Alaska summit. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are preparing for their showdown. Meanwhile, the big 2 economies are struggling. American inflation is inching higher and China is slowing down. In the neighborhood, Pakistan has unveiled a new missile command. Is India ready for this new challenge? All this and more lined up. The headlines first. Hezbollah accuses Lebanon's government of handing the country to Israel by pushing for the group's disarmament. The chief of the Iran-backed group warned that they would fight to keep their weapons. The remarks came after he met Tehran's top security chief. The Lebanese government has ordered its army to devise a plan to disarm Hezbollah by the end of this year. Heavy rains trigger landslides and flash floods across northern Pakistan. More than 100 people have been killed in the last 24 hours. Most of the deaths are from the mountainous Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Fatalities have been reported in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well. In 2022, monsoon floods had submerged a third of the country. Libya to hold rare municipal elections on Saturday. The polls are being seen as a test of democracy, but key eastern cities, including Benghazi, have rejected this vote. Libya remains split between Tripoli's UN-recognized government and its rival administration in the eastern part of the country. World Plastic Pollution Treaty talks collapse as 185 countries fail to reach a consensus on the way forward. A large bloc wants to curb plastic production, while oil-producing states prefer to focus on waste management. There have been 6 rounds of talks over 3 years without any agreement. And the world's first humanoid robot games begin in China's capital, Beijing. 16 countries are participating in the events, which include traditional sports like athletics and basketball, and practical tasks such as cleaning and categorizing medicines. Dark clouds loomed over Delhi today. The capital woke up to some light showers. But India's spirit cut through it all. It was the perfect metaphor for our country's resolve, a country that perseveres no matter what. Wars, tariffs, toxic neighbors, even more toxic friends, nothing can keep India down. As always, the focus was on the Red Fort today. That's where the Prime Minister addresses the nation. This was Prime Minister Modi's 12th address, also his first since Operation Sindoor. Before going to the Red Fort, Prime Minister Modi visited Mahatma Gandhi's memorial. He paid tributes to the father of the nation. At the Red Fort, grand celebrations awaited. First, Prime Minister Modi inspected the Guard of Honor. After that, he climbed the ramparts. The Red Fort was decked up in flowers. The Prime Minister then unfurled the Indian national flag. As he did so, helicopters flew overhead. One had the tricolour flag. The other flew the Operation Sindoor logo. Like I said, it cut through the clouds.
स्वाधीनता दिवस समारोह को अनोखा कलेवर प्रदान कर रहे हैं भारतीय वायुसेना के 2 Mi-17 हेलीकॉप्टर्स एक राष्ट्रीय ध्वज लिए हुए आपके स्क्रीन पर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को दर्शाने वाला ध्वज लिए हुए.
Then it was time for the speech. The Independence Day address is very important for India. It's a mix of policy and national pride. And this one was extra special because it came amid a challenging period for India. The Pahalgam attack, the conflict with Pakistan, the Air India crash, and the tariff war with Donald Trump. All of these have been dominating headlines. So this was arguably Prime Minister Modi's most significant Red Fort speech yet. His address lasted 103 minutes. It was the longest Independence Day speech by an Indian Prime Minister. He broke his own record from last year. We'll focus on the top 7 highlights. Number 1, a stern message to Pakistan. Prime Minister Modi reiterated his new Pakistan doctrine. No nuclear blackmail, no distinction between terrorists and terror backers. He also spoke about the Indus Waters Treaty. A lot of Pakistani leaders have issued threats over it, but Prime Minister Modi stood his ground. He said water and blood would not flow together.
पाकिस्तान की नींद अभी भी उड़ी हुई है. पाकिस्तान में हुई तबाही इतनी बड़ी है कि रोज नए नए खुलासे हो रहे हैं, नई नई जानकारियां आ रही. आतंक को और आतंकी को पालने पोसने वालों को, आतंकियों को ताकत देने वालों को अब हम अलग अलग नहीं मानेंगे. अब भारत ने तय कर लिया है कि न्यूक्लियर की धमकियों को अब हम सहने वाले नहीं हैं. भारत ने तय कर लिया है खून और पानी एक साथ नहीं बहेंगे.
Number 2, Prime Minister Modi announced a new defense shield for India. It's called the Sudarshan Chakra, which is the divine weapon of Lord Krishna. This system will be built by 2035. It will be an integrated defense shield for India. The system will track, intercept, and counter attack. 2 things stand out about this mission. First, it will be completely homegrown. And second, it won't just protect military installations, it will protect civilian sites too, like hospitals, railway stations, and places of worship.
आज लाल किले की प्राचीर से कह रहा हूं, आने वाले 10 साल में 2035 तक राष्ट्र के सभी महत्वपूर्ण स्थलों, जिनमें सामरिक के साथ साथ सिविलियन क्षेत्र भी शामिल है, जैसे अस्पताल हो, रेलवे हो, जो भी आस्था के केंद्र हो, उन्हें टेक्नोलॉजी के नए प्लेटफॉर्म द्वारा पूरी तरह सुरक्षा का कवच दिया जाएगा. ये मिशन सुदर्शन चक्र एक पावरफुल वेपन सिस्टम दुश्मन के हमले को न्यूट्रलाइज तो करेगा ही करेगा, लेकिन कई गुना ज्यादा दुश्मन पर हिट बैक करेगा.
Number 3, an indirect message to Donald Trump. The US president has been trying to intimidate India. He has slapped 50% tariffs on Indian goods. His main complaint has been agriculture. Trump wants to sell American farm goods in India, but New Delhi has rejected this demand. Today, Prime Minister Modi reiterated that position. He promised to defend Indian farmers.
भारत के किसान, भारत के मछुआरे, भारत के पशुपालक, उनसे जुड़ी किसी भी अहितकारी नीति के आगे मोदी दीवार बन के खड़ा है. भारत अपने किसानों, अपने पशुपालकों, अपने मछुआरों के संबंध में कभी भी कोई समझौता नहीं स्वीकार करेगा।
Number 4, a pitch for self-reliance. The Prime Minister has always emphasized on this, but today he went a step ahead. He announced India's entry into the global chip war. The first Indian-made chip will be ready by the end of this year, 2025. And he did not stop there. Prime Minister Modi called for other technologies to be made in India as well, like jet engines or social media platforms. Right now, India depends on other countries for these services. We buy jet engines from the US and we use American social media apps. Prime Minister Modi wants indigenous platforms to rival them. He also urged influencers and politicians to promote Indian products.
मेरे देश के युवा वैज्ञानिकों को, मेरे टैलेंटेड यूथ को, मेरे इंजीनियर्स को और प्रोफेशनल्स को और सरकार के हर विभागों को भी मेरा आह्वान है, क्या हमारा अपना मेड इन इंडिया फाइटर जेट्स के लिए जेट इंजन हमारा होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए? इसका मतलब की ताकत है, क्रिएटिव वर्ल्ड हो, सोशल मीडिया हो, ये जितने भी प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं, मेरे देश के नौजवानों में चुनौती करता हूं आपको, आइए हमारे अपने प्लेटफॉर्म क्यों ना हो, हम क्यों दूसरों पर निर्भर रहे, क्यों भारत का धन बाहर जाए? और इसलिए मैं आज बार बार आग्रह करता हूं और मैं देश के सभी इन्फ्लुएंसर्स को कहना चाहता हूं, इस मंत्र को आगे बढ़ाने में मेरी मदद कीजिए। मैं सभी राजनीतिक दलों को, राजनेताओं को सबसे कहता हूं कि आइए, ये किसी राजनीतिक दल का एजेंडा नहीं है, भारत हम सबका है। हम मिलकर के वोकल फॉर लोकल उस मंत्र को हर नागरिक के जीवन का मंत्र बनाएं।
Number 5, Prime Minister Modi announced a Diwali gift for Indians. He promised to lower the GST burden. Now, GST, as you know, is the goods and services tax. It is the indirect tax levied in India. The Prime Minister has promised to reform and reduce this burden by Diwali, which falls in October this year. Reports say a two-slab system is being planned. Right now, there are 4 GST slabs, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. The plan is to cut that down to just 2 slabs. And once that happens, it should reduce the indirect tax burden.
साथियों, इस दिवाली में आपकी डबल दिवाली का काम मैं करने वाला हूं। इस दिवाली में आपको एक बहुत बड़ा तोहफा देशवासियों को मिलने वाला है। पिछले 8 साल से हमने जीएसटी का बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म किया। हम नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स लेकर के आ रहे हैं। ये दिवाली के अंदर आपके लिए तोहफा बन जाएंगे। सामान्य मानवीय की जरूरतों के टैक्स भारी मात्रा में कम कर दिए जाएंगे।
Number 6, a new employment scheme. It's called the Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana. The scheme has a budget of almost 100,000 crore rupees. It will be implemented in 2 parts. The first part benefits new employees. Say you've just landed your first private sector job. Your salary is less than 1 lakh rupees per month. Then you get 15,000 rupees from the government. It's a one-time payment, 15,000. The second part benefits the employers. They get 3,000 rupees per month per new employee. Basically, they have more incentive to hire. This scheme is expected to create 35 million new jobs.
आज से प्रधानमंत्री विकसित भारत रोजगार योजना आज ही 15 अगस्त को लागू हो रही है। ये आपके लिए बहुत खुशखबरी है। इस योजना के तहत निजी क्षेत्र में पहली नौकरी पाने वाले नौजवान को, बेटे बेटी को 15,000 रुपया सरकार की तरफ से दिए जाएंगे। कंपनियों को भी नए रोजगार देने के अवसर जो भी ज्यादा जुटाएगा, उनको भी प्रोत्साहन राशि दी जाएगी।
And finally, highlight number 7, a warning about changing demography. The Prime Minister flagged a well-planned conspiracy He says intruders are snatching the rights of Indian citizens. He called it a threat to unity and integrity. So he's announced a new high-powered mission. This mission will probe and address the crisis.
मैं आज देश के सामने एक चिंता, एक चुनौती के संबंध में आगाह करना चाहता हूं। षड्यंत्र के तहत, सोची समझी साजिश के तहत देश की डेमोग्राफी को बदला जा रहा है। एक नए संकट के बीज बोए जा रहे हैं और ये घुसपैठिए मेरे देश के नौजवानों की रोजी रोटी छीन रहे हैं। एक घुसपैठिए मेरे देश की बहन बेटियों को निशाना बना रहे हैं। ये बर्दाश्त नहीं होगा। ये घुसपैठिए भोले भाले आदिवासियों को भ्रमित करके उनकी जमीनों पर कब्जा कर रहे हैं। ये देश सहन नहीं करेगा।
That sums up the 79th Independence Day. It was celebrated amid clouds, both real and metaphorical. But it was also a timely reminder for us. India's freedom was the result of unity and strength. We had to fight for it. Even afterwards, when the world tried to bully us, we stood together. We drew strength from our unity. On this Independence Day, every Indian should remember that. It's not every day that Anchorage becomes a stage for global history, but today it is. In just 2 hours from now, Air Force One will touch down in Alaska's capital. 2 hours after that, the motorcades will roll. The city is already under lockdown, the airspace is sealed, the streets are cleared, and security teams are everywhere as the world gears up for a historic meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They will be in the same room for the first time in 6 years. Their last handshake was in 2019 in Osaka. And since then, a lot has changed. Trump lost the White House in 2020, then he reclaimed it in 2024. Meanwhile, Putin started the war in Ukraine, and now it all comes down to one thing. Will this meeting change the course of the war? Will there be peace in Ukraine? That's the question hanging over Anchorage tonight. The leaders will meet at Alaska's largest military base. It's called Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. It was built in 1940. The base was once the nerve center for intercepting Soviet bombers flying over the Arctic. Now it's a joint Air Force Army facility. More than 30,000 people live on this site. Right now, the base is a fortress, but across Anchorage, there are protests. Also, why Alaska? Why are they meeting here of all places? The short answer is symbolism and geography. Alaska sits just across the Bering Strait from Russia, just about 80 kilometers at its narrowest point. In fact, before 1867, it was Russian territory. 1867, that's when Moscow sold it to the US for $7.2 million. Perhaps that's why it was chosen. A mix of nostalgia and strategic positioning. This is also the first time since 2015 that Putin will visit the US. So who will attend this meeting? Of course, there's Trump and Putin. Each will come with his delegation. On the Russian side, there will be Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. In fact, he's already in Anchorage. He was seen entering his hotel in a Soviet Union sweatshirt.
We never anticipate ahead of time. We know that we have arguments, and we have clear position. We will explain it. A lot has already been done during the visits of the special envoy of the U.S. President Stephen Witkoff. The The President Vladimir Putin told about this. Witkoff spoke on behalf of President Trump. I hope that we will continue this very useful conversation tomorrow.
The defense and finance ministers will also be there, along with the presidential aide. On the American side, there will be Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff. And do they have a defined agenda? Officially, it's going to be a discussion on ceasefire in Ukraine, but unofficially, it could be anything that helps end the war. They're expected to discuss land swap. Reports say Trump has floated a proposal. Russia gets to keep some of the territory it has captured, and Ukraine could get some of it back. So the borders will change. Then there's talk of security guarantees. It's something that Russia wants. Ukraine must say no to NATO. It must stay out of NATO, or at least pledge neutrality for now. Third is sanctions relief. Russia is currently the most sanctioned country in the world. They have more than 20,000 sanctions. Of course, Moscow wants them lifted ASAP. In fact, that will be the top priority for Putin. Fourth, economic side deals. Putin may dangle investments in the US. We all know how much Trump loves that. So that could sweeten the deal. But here's the thing to note. This is not being billed as a final peace conference. It's more like a high-stakes speed date. Both sides will figure out if a second meeting is worth the trouble. And Trump has tried to temper expectations. He says there's a 25% chance the talks will fail.
But the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I don't know that it's going to be very important. We're going to see what happens. And I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. And if they can, it'll be great.
He's already talking about a second meeting. As you know, Zelensky has not been invited to this one. And he's been lobbying hard to get heard. He's been issuing statements asking Trump to not cut a deal over Ukraine's head. And as the meeting happens in Alaska, the Ukrainian president will most likely be waiting by the phone for a call from Trump. And then there's Europe. European leaders did dial Trump this week. They warned against cutting a deal without Kiev's approval, and Trump is set to call them after today's meeting. He will first dial Ukraine and then Europe. Which brings us to the main question. Will this end the war? Well, don't bet your paycheck on it. The White House is already playing down expectations. The Kremlin did not set any to start with. Still, there's a slim chance that the Alaska summit will produce two things: a short-term ceasefire pledge and a framework for talks involving Ukraine. It all depends on what is said behind those closed doors and whether either man means it. As Trump chases a peace deal in Ukraine, the fallout of his own policies is hitting home. Americans have started to feel the heat from Trump's tariff war. New economic data is out, and it's sounding the alarm on inflation. Last month, US wholesale prices shot up. They increased by almost 1%, which may sound like a small number. But this is the sharpest jump in more than 3 years. On an annual basis, the producer's price index is up by 3.3%. The last time prices rose this fast was in early 2022, when the world was still gripped by the pandemic. So let's break this down. What is the producer price index, or PPI? Let me explain with an example. Imagine you run a small bakery. You need flour, milk, and butter every single day to bake goods. You don't make these ingredients yourself. You buy them from a miller and dairy, from wholesalers who sell in bulk. It costs you less when you buy in bulk. That's what wholesale prices are. Now imagine that the miller raises the price of flour, the dairy charges more for butter, and the delivery costs are up. Suddenly, running your bakery will cost more. And that's what's happening across America right now. Wholesale prices are climbing. The cost to make and move goods is rising. At first, the difference may seem small, but over time, it all adds up. Let's go back to our bakery. The costs are climbing. What do? You have two choices. Either you take the hit yourself and absorb the extra cost, or you raise the prices of your goods. In the short term, you might absorb the cost, but if prices keep climbing, It's not sustainable. Eventually, you will be forced to pass it on to your customers. So you will charge more for each loaf of bread. And in the US, producers have started to feel this pinch. The numbers tell the story. Service costs jumped 1.1% in July. Margins for wholesalers and retailers rose by 2%. And this means businesses have started charging more to cover their own costs. Prices of goods rose by 0.4%. As of now, it's a marginal increase. The cost of processed goods is also up by more than 2%. Now, this includes diesel, construction material, and manufacturing inputs. And what's driving this spike? Trump's tariffs. The US president's trade war is feeding directly into these numbers. You see, tariffs are taxes on imports. So now goods coming into the US from other countries cost more because they have an added tax. Importers are paying more for a lot of items, and they're passing on the cost from importers to retailers and from retailers to consumers. Let me give you another example. The US imports home furniture and apparel in large quantities. These are everyday items. They're heavily exposed to tariffs, and their prices have started to rise. And economists say that this is just the beginning. Businesses cannot absorb costs beyond a point, so in the coming months, consumers will be shelling out a lot more. That is the assessment. And here's what it means. It means that inflation will rise in the US unless, of course, Donald Trump changes his mind and ends the trade war. As of today, it appears unlikely. Trump promised to make America great again. He said tariffs would make that happen, that they would protect US industry and bring back jobs. But that strategy is unraveling. The tariffs that were meant to be a shield have turned into a boomerang. And that boomerang is coming back fast, aiming straight at American families and their wallets. It's not just Trump's America. China, too, is struggling. It's one of the main targets of Trump's trade war, although the tariffs have been pushed back by another 3 months because China has leverage over the US. So the two sides are talking. They're hoping to strike a deal and avoid the worst-case scenario. But even that was not enough to restore confidence. Fresh economic data is out, and China is showing signs of a sharp slowdown. Demand for goods is weak, output from factories is stalled, and unemployment is rising. Beijing has pushed stimulus to support the economy. It has slashed interest on loans. It has introduced subsidies for new parents. It has announced trade-in schemes for appliances. Despite all of this, the impact has been limited. So what is driving this slump, and how deep could it go? Our next report breaks down the numbers.
China's economy is stalling, and the warning signs are no longer subtle. Growth is losing steam, and sales are slowing. Let's break this down. Retail sales in July grew by just 3.7%. Analysts had hoped for a stronger number, closer to 4.6%. But China has missed expectations. Demand for goods at home is weak. Shoppers are spending less. Confidence is low. Industrial production is also losing momentum. It rose by 5.7% in July. That's the slowest pace in 8 months, and far below what the government had hoped. That means factories are making fewer goods. This signals to one thing: they are getting fewer orders. So what's behind this slowdown? Let's look at the key factors. First, the property market. It's one of the largest contributors to China's economy. It drives jobs. It drives demand. It drives wealth. But it's struggling. New home prices across 70 cities dropped again in July. Buyers are holding back. Confidence is shaken, and builders are scaling back investment. In fact, property investment is down 12% this year. That's a big hit. Why does this matter? Because property isn't just about buildings. It's about spending. When homes lose value, people feel poorer. When they feel poorer, they spend less. And that's exactly what's happening. Next reason is overproduction. China is producing more goods than it can sell, and manufacturers face growing competition and weak demand. This is putting pressure on prices and pushing profits down. It's also hurting sentiment. Why buy today if it'll be cheaper tomorrow? That's what many consumers are thinking. Then there's the weather. Extreme heat, floods, storms. These have disrupted operations across several provinces. Factories had to shut, construction sites were flooded, and businesses took a hit, not just in numbers, but in confidence. Add to that the external pressures. China is locked in a long-running trade war with the United States. Tariffs are up. Access to key technologies is limited. And even though there's a 90-day pause, tensions are far from over. Companies are feeling the heat. So are exporters. And despite strong export figures in July, the outlook is shaky. Analysts warn this momentum may not last. So how is Beijing responding? The government has introduced support measures. Mortgage rate cuts, subsidies for new parents, trade-in schemes for appliances, and plans to convert unsold homes into social housing. But the impact has been limited. And then there's unemployment. Urban joblessness edged up to 5.2% in July. Youth unemployment remains above 14%. That excludes college students. It's a sign that the labor market remains fragile, especially for the young. So what does this all add up to? An economy in slowdown. Not in crisis, but clearly under strain. China's leadership says it's still on track. But confidence in homes and markets is telling a different story. Spending is down. Output is down. The property sector is still sinking. There is a risk of deflation. It's a tough road ahead. The tools are limited. The pressure is real. And the slowdown is no longer just a forecast. It's here. And it's showing.
Pakistan is licking its wounds after Operation Sindoor. They were stunned by India's superiority. Indian fighter jets destroyed terror targets with impunity. Indian missiles slammed into Pakistani bases. But Islamabad was frozen, and the loss appears to have jolted them. So 3 months later, they have unveiled something new: the Army Rocket Force.
आज इस मौका पर मैं आर्मी रॉकेट फोर्स कमांड की तश्कील का ऐलान करता हूं। जदीद टेक्नोलॉजी की हामिल और दुश्मन को हर सिमत से निशाना लगाने की सलाहियत रखने वाली ये फोर्स, ये कुव्वत हमारी रवायती जंगी सलाहियत को मज़ीद मजबूत करने के हवाले से एक और संग मील साबित होगा।
This will be a new command within Pakistan's army. Its job to build and operate conventional missiles. That's ballistic, cruise, and maybe even hypersonic missiles. Basically, Pakistan wants to hit deep inside Indian territory. They did try during Operation Sindoor, but India's defenses were too good for them. Not only did we take down Pakistani missiles, we shot down at least 6 Pakistani warplanes. And this is Islamabad's response. They're creating a dedicated command for missile warfare, which raises 2 questions. A, how would that work? And B, how should India see it? The idea itself is not new. Pakistan's iron brother China also has a missile command. It's called the PLA Rocket Force. In West Asia, Iran has a dedicated missile command. It's called the IRGC Aerospace Force. We saw them in action earlier this year. Iran fired dozens of missiles at Israeli targets. So like I said, the idea itself is not new. Here's how a Pakistani official described it. The rocket force would have its own command in the military, which would be dedicated to handling and deployment of missiles in the event of a conventional war. It is obvious that it is meant for India. Well, that was never a secret. Of course, this move is aimed at India. But how should New Delhi see it? Well, India's own missile arsenal is very strong. You've got a mix of ballistic and cruise missiles, like the Agni series, the Prithvi series, and of course the BrahMos. The BrahMos is a lethal cruise missile developed by India and Russia. It has a whopping 95% success rate. And Pakistan saw that firsthand in May. That's when BrahMos missiles thudded into multiple bases. And this is where India has the edge. New Delhi has not officially revealed its missile stockpile, but there are estimates. Some say that there are 1,500 BrahMos missiles alone. A Chinese think tank put the number way higher. It believes there are around 14,000 BrahMos missiles. As for the ballistic missiles, we have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine. But here's what we do know. Pakistan's stockpile is not nearly as good, both in terms of quality and quantity. Until now, this was not a problem for Islamabad because they hid behind their nuclear arsenal. Pakistan was so confident that India would never launch a conventional attack, that their nukes would deter New Delhi, that they never needed such missiles. But during Operation Sindoor, that confidence was shattered. India set a new normal with Pakistan. We escalated below the nuclear threshold, which is why Pakistan's calculations have changed. They cannot use nukes to deter India anymore. They will now need something else. Enter a missile force. The question is, how can India counter it? Well, simple, with a cutting-edge air defense system. In fact, Prime Minister Modi announced such a plan today. He unveiled the Sudarshan Chakra mission. It aims to create a homegrown shield around India. Even now, we have a capable air defense. It's a mixture of medium and long-range interceptor missiles. The key is to keep expanding it, because missile warfare is dangerous stuff. And we saw that in West Asia. Israel has a cutting-edge air defense system. They had support from the US and Arab partners, yet Iranian missiles managed to sneak in. They caused a lot of damage to Israeli cities. And India should be mindful of that. Unlike us, Pakistan is a reckless country. They won't limit their missiles to air bases or runways. They will hit civilian targets. So the mission is to sharpen our aerial platforms, both offensive and defensive. Over the past few weeks, heavy rainfall has battered parts of northern India. Last week, a massive flood hit a village in Uttarakhand, submerging nearly half of it. And now flash floods are wreaking havoc in Jammu and Kashmir. Yesterday, a cloudburst struck a remote village in the district of Kishtwar. Debris and mud came gushing down. The flash flood virtually split the village into two, uprooting trees, destroying homes, and burying people in its path, injuring more than 100 people and claiming dozens of lives. Here's a report.
At least 60 people dead, more than 100 injured, with many in a critical state, and dozens of others still missing. This is the result of a devastating cloudburst in Jammu and Kashmir. This is Chosoti. It is a remote village in Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar district. 2 villages ahead lies the temple of Machail Mata, a manifestation of goddess Durga. This is a Himalayan shrine, and Chosoti is the last point accessible by vehicles. So a large number of pilgrims were in the village as part of their journey to the temple. Chosoti was abuzz with activities, when yesterday, a cloudburst triggered a flash flood. Water mixed with debris and mud came gushing down the hill.
Immediately after a loud sound, I saw flood water rushing in. I saw people being washed away. They were raising their hands as they asked for help. But what could I do? I was terrified.
The mudslide caused massive damage. It swept away food camps and vehicles, uprooted trees, destroyed homes, and buried many people. It effectively split the village into two.
Suddenly there was a sound like a bomb exploding and everyone started shouting. As I started to run, I got trapped in the debris and an electricity pole fell on me.
Suddenly there was a blast-like sound, and after the cloudburst, we started to evacuate. But within 2 minutes, there was 4 feet of debris. We managed to rescue some people, but others got trapped.
A massive rescue operation has been underway. The State Disaster Response Force, police, civil administration personnel, and National Disaster Response Force are all on the ground. Local volunteers and residents are also assisting in the rescue operation. But rescuers have a difficult task on their hands.
When JCB digs, we will take out the victims who are buried above. Now we will try to find out how many victims are buried below.
Plus, it is expected that hundreds of people are buried under the debris, so it has been hard to track the victims' exact location. But as authorities intensify efforts, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured all help. He spoke with the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah and Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha on the tragedy and took stock of the situation, sending his thoughts and prayers to all those affected by the cloudburst. Over the past few weeks, monsoons have wreaked havoc in parts of northern India. In the cloudburst-hit belt, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand have also been battered by heavy rainfall. Just last week, a massive flood hit the village of Diwali in Uttarakhand, submerging nearly half of it and killing dozens of people. Now, Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed a similar tragedy. While Cho City bears the brunt of it, the two villages ahead, Machail and Hamori, are also suffering. Hundreds of people are stranded, power supply has been snapped, and communication is difficult. So as people hope that more rainfall doesn't ravage the region further, there are fears that the death toll from Thursday's tragedy will rise further.
Let's go back to 2016, to when Donald Trump won the US presidency. All his supporters said the same thing. Trump is a businessman, so he will run the country like a CEO. In his second term, he is doing exactly that. First, Trump cut a deal with chip giants. He asked them to share revenue with the US government. And now he wants to buy a stake in Intel, the same Intel that he rubbished recently. But this move raises many questions. Like, why does Trump want to invest in Intel? Is it even legal for a president to do so? And what does it mean for the company? Our next report tells you.
You can put a businessman in the White House, but you cannot take the business out of him. Donald Trump is proving that. He is busy cutting deals and buying stakes in American companies. The latest example could be Intel. Reports say the US government is eyeing a stake in Intel. Talks are underway between the two sides. The idea is to rescue the struggling chip giant, especially their stalled production hub in Ohio. This is the first bit of good news in a long time for Intel. Their share price surged more than 7% in Thursday's trade. But questions remain. For starters, why is the US government interested? Because Intel operates in a strategically sensitive industry, semiconductors. America does have great chip designers like NVIDIA and AMD, but they do not manufacture chips. They only design them. Washington fears it will lose the manufacturing race to Taiwan or South Korea, or worse, China. Hence their bet on Intel. For the company's CEO, Lip Bhutan, this is a breather. Last week, Donald Trump had asked him to resign from his position. Why? Over his alleged links to China. Days later, Tan met Trump at the White House, after which things improved. The president even praised Tan as a success story. If such a deal happens, it would ease the pressure on the CEO. He could get the money and the political support. Their main focus will be on the Ohio plant. Intel wanted to create the largest chip-making facility in the world. But the company fell into bad times. The project was delayed until the 2030s, and thousands of jobs were cut. So for Intel, Trump could be a savior. And this deal isn't a one-off. Under Trump, the US government is keen to have a foothold in crucial industries, like steel and aluminum. Trump cleared Nippon Steel's acquisition of US Steel. But in return, he got a golden share for the US government. a stake that gives him power over business decisions. Another example is rare earths. The Pentagon is investing $400 million in MP Materials Corporation, which is a U.S. rare earth producer. Once the deal is completed, the Pentagon will be the largest stakeholder. But are such agreements legal? The simple answer is yes. Even in the past, the U.S. government has bought stakes in American companies. And outside America, it's pretty common. In China, most of the industry titans are state-owned. In India, public sector companies have a near monopoly in certain sectors. So the concept is legal and widespread. But in Trump's case, there are two differences. Number one, such acquisitions in America are done during financial crises, mainly to bail out companies. Intel is in trouble, but not that much trouble. So, this decision is more about having control over strategic industries. And number two, Trump is taking it to another level. He isn't just buying stakes, he is cutting deals to share revenue. Trump has forced NVIDIA and AMD to give 15% of their revenue from China to the US government. Many experts doubt the legality of such an agreement. For a country that lectures others on shedding government control, this is a big U-turn.
There are tech mistakes, and then there are the kind of tech decisions that make you wonder, did anyone in the room really think this through? Meta has just been exposed for one such decision. A leaked internal document reveals this. Meta's AI systems were approved to allow romantic or sexual chats with children. Yes, officially approved. Let that sink in. This was not a rogue glitch. This was a policy decision. It was reviewed and signed off by multiple teams. Which brings us to an even more uncomfortable question. If this is what the rulebook allowed, what else has the AI been doing out there in the wild? Our next report tells you.
It starts innocently enough. A child, bored after homework, opens a chat window. On the other side isn't a stranger in a shady forum or a profile with no picture. It's something far more trusted. A chatbot built by one of the most powerful tech companies on Earth. The avatar is friendly, the tone warm. It asks questions. It compliments. It plays along with jokes. And then, somewhere between "How was your day?" and "Want to hear a story?" the conversation slides into territory no algorithm should ever wander into with a minor. This isn't a cautionary tale from the early days of the internet. This is 2025, and according to internal documents from Meta, their own AI systems were, until very recently, allowed to have romantic or sensual chats with children. This is the company behind Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. What makes this worse isn't just that it happened. It's that it was written into the rulebook.
Using a face as an
Here's the thing about AI. It only does what you train and allow it to do. Meta's own guidelines reportedly said it was acceptable for its bots to engage in romantic or sensual chats with minors. This includes role-play scenarios with high schoolers, even poetic descriptions of 8-year-olds' bodies as masterpieces. This is the same social media platform that is already struggling to protect children from predators. Now, one of the world's biggest tech companies essentially built a predator simulator into its AI. More importantly, it has made it permissible in its internal rules. Even if the intent wasn't malicious, the damage is obvious. This gives predators a new way to groom kids, blurring boundaries and normalizing harmful interactions. And if you trust Meta's enforcement to be flawless, you haven't been paying attention. When asked about this, Meta did not deny it. Instead, they said, they have removed those examples because they were inconsistent with our policies. Translation, it was fine until someone saw it. That's not all. Meta's AI standards also reportedly allowed the bots to create statements that demean people based on race, such as writing a paragraph arguing that black people are less intelligent than white people. Meta's standards also went into bizarre territory with celebrity requests. Users asking for explicit images of famous people were to be redirected to something weirdly absurd. For example, Taylor Swift holding an enormous fish. Perhaps the most chilling part is how these rules came into existence. They weren't rogue lines of code. They were written into a 200-plus page standards document, approved by legal teams, policy teams, engineers, and ethics advisors. This wasn't a mistake made by one careless engineer. This was a systemic decision baked into the company's DNA. It was only revised after journalists asked awkward questions. And this is a very big red flag.
Who did you fire? I'm not going to answer that.
We're in a moment where AI is moving faster than regulation. There are no universally enforced safeguards. If companies self-police poorly, we're essentially running a global experiment on how badly AI can behave. And children are among the test subjects.
In the world of modern mercenaries, one name stands out: Blackwater. If you haven't heard of them before, do know this. They're the most infamous private security company in modern history. The man behind Blackwater is Eric Prince. And now he's at it again. Only this time, the battlefield is not Iraq or Afghanistan, it's Haiti, a country in the Caribbean that is already on the brink. Gangs rule the roads here, the government barely functions, and foreign intervention has a long, messy history. Now, Eric Prince is set to add to the chaos. He's sending 200 fighters to Haiti. The question is why? Why Haiti? And why is Blackwater's ghost showing up in the Caribbean? Tonight, we'll break it down. Haiti is located in the Caribbean, like I said. It's a country on the edge. In 2021, their president was assassinated. Right now, it is under a transitional presidential council. Elections are planned for later this year, but Haiti is sliding into more chaos. Gangs control large parts of the capital. They monitor key roads. There's a UN-backed police mission led by Kenya, but it has not made much progress. A state of emergency is in effect. Haitians are desperate for security, so much so that they ended up inviting a private army with a checkered past. Which brings us to Eric Prince. He's a former US Navy SEAL. In 1997, he founded a company called Blackwater. We'll tell you about it in a bit, but for now, let's focus on Eric Prince's new company. It's called Vectis Global. Now, this company, Vectis Global, has signed a deal with Haiti's government. They will deploy fighters from the US, Europe, and El Salvador to Haiti. To do what? To clear gang-controlled roads and territory and help restore Haiti's border tax collection. It's about bringing back cash flow to a broke government. Sounds simple enough on paper, but in reality, it's a lot more complicated. You see, Eric Prince has a very controversial past. As I just said, he founded Blackwater. The company's headquarters were in North Carolina. The groundwater in the area was quite dark, and that is why they decided to call it Blackwater. Also dark were their dealings. Blackwater took part in some conflicts. Then came the war in Iraq, and that's where it made its mark. In August 2003, Blackwater received its first Iraq contract. It was worth $21 million. Soon, Blackwater was training 40,000 people annually, mostly in Iraq. By 2007, they were doing all of America's dirty work there. They guarded facilities, they protected high-value individuals, they trained the military, and they carried out critical operations. They were also involved in multiple war crimes. There were rapes, murders, incidents of torture, all of which was brushed under the rug. But the Nisour Square massacre sealed their fate. Nisour is a busy square in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. Blackwater killed 17 people here. The massacre sparked so much outrage that the US could no longer ignore it. Blackwater was officially disbanded and rebranded. In 2009, it became XE Services. In 2011, it became Academy. And then in 2014, it became part of a company called Constellus Holdings. And through all of this, Eric Prince remained active. And now his return signals something bigger. The privatization of warfare is no longer just a West Asian phenomenon. It is expanding across the globe. Weak states under siege are the new markets. Mercenary groups are targeting them. And here's the problem with this trend. Once private armies become the go-to fix for unstable countries, they're hard to roll back. And frankly, Prince's strategy has not changed much since the Iraq days. This is what he does: find a fragile state in crisis, offer fast, decisive solutions, and secure a long-term, high-value contract. For example, Haiti's deal reportedly spans 10 years, which means Prince won't just control the battlefield, he will also control revenue streams. It's a business model dressed as a rescue mission. If Vectus Global manages to make Haiti safe, Haitians might cheer. But if history is any guide, this victory will come at a cost. Blackwater may be gone in name, but its shadow is long. And in Haiti, that shadow is about to land with boots and rifles. Sharks are scary in general, but if there's one shark that puts parents everywhere on edge, it is this: the baby shark song, dreaded by parents but loved by children. And this has made the song an internet legend. It's everywhere, on TV shows, cartoons, apps, toys, and even the global charts of music hits. A South Korean company is behind this song. They've made a lot of money off it. But in 2019, an American songwriter sued this company. He accused them of plagiarism. And he dragged them all the way to the South Korean Supreme Court. Now, in 2025, the verdict is finally out. What does it say? And what does this mean for the music industry? After all, this is not the only infamous plagiarism saga. Music history is notorious for copyright battles. Here's a report.
Baby Shark, Mama Shark, Papa Shark, Grandma Shark, Grandpa Shark, and a lot of do-do-do. If you don't live under the sea, you probably know what we are talking about. The viral earworm, the kid catnip, Baby Shark by the South Korean company Pinkfong. Since its release, the song has clocked up more than 16 billion views on YouTube. It has spawned spin-off TV shows, movies, toys, and smartphone apps. It has sparked social media challenges. Hit number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. And in the process, made the company millions of dollars. But just as the internet was falling in love with Baby Shark, in 2019, an American children's songwriter, Jonathan Wright, smelled money. He claimed that Pinkfong had copied his work, pointing to the same key, same tempo change, same melody and rhythm. He dragged the company to South Korea's Supreme Court. He filed a plagiarism claim seeking about $22,000 in compensation, and a copyright battle ensued for years. Now, it has finally come to an end, and the court has cleared Pinkfong of plagiarism, saying that there were already prior versions of Baby Shark, because it's not like Wright nor Pinkfong started the song. After all, in the realm of children's music, Baby Shark is a bit of a legend. And like most legends, its origins are shrouded in mystery. No matter what capitalism tells us, no one really knows where Baby Shark originated from. One theory suggests that the catchy Baby Shark tune was popularized at summer camps, with darker lyrics that ended with the shark killing the singer. According to another theory, the song was created in the US in the 1970s, around the time Steven Spielberg's film Jaws became a global hit. There are also other global versions of the song, including in France and Germany in the early 2000s. In 2011, came Wright's version on his YouTube channel, and in 2015, the Pinkfong version. Either way, Baby Shark is not just an equal parts annoying and catchy song. It is a famous copyright battle. But it is not an isolated case. For decades now, the music industry has been infamous for its sampling versus stealing debate. Rock band The Verve is a classic example of this. They went through a 22-year-long dispute. It was over a 4-second string sample of a Rolling Stones song. But it's not even about copying. It's more complex than that. We saw this with the hit song Blurred Lines, when the family of the late Marvin Gaye accused artists Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams of copying the style and feel of Gaye's 1977 disco hit. And the copyright battles extend to performances as well. Like in India, where music maestro Ilayya Raja issued legal notices to famous singers S.P. Balasubramaniam and K.S. Chitra in 2017, prohibiting them from performing his compositions without permission. Such cases stun the music industry time and again. But once a battle cools, another one reaches a crescendo. Because despite all the lawsuits, the musical saga of copyright battles, with unlicensed samples and strangely similar melodies, may never end. After all, as they say, good artists copy, but great artists steal.
US Vice President J.D. Vance has wrapped his vacation. He was in Scotland this week with his family. And let's just say it was far from smooth. Vance had earlier criticized Scotland over free speech. So he was met with protesters everywhere, pro-Palestine protesters, anti-America protesters, anti-Trump protesters, you name it, Scotland had it. They rolled up with memified pictures of J.D. Vance. But the trouble was not limited to him. It seems it was infectious. Before Scotland, Vance was in the English countryside, and while there, he went fishing with the UK's Foreign Secretary. But the Secretary did not have a fishing license. He now stands liable for $3,400. Needless to say, the internet is loving the drama. That's all we have for you today. Right now, all eyes are on Alaska, where Putin and Trump will meet in hours. Firstpost will be tracking all the updates, so do stay tuned. Before we wrap, here are some glimpses on how embassies in India and across the world marked India's Independence Day.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.